I'm Joe Lample. When I created Growing a Greener World, I had one goal: to tell stories of everyday people, innovators, entrepreneurs, forward-thinking leaders who are all, in ways both big and small, dedicated to organic gardening and farming, lightening our footprint, conserving vital resources, protecting natural habitats, making a tangible difference for us all. They're real, they're passionate, they're all around us. They're the game changers who are literally growing a greener world and inspiring the rest of us to do the same. Growing a greener world, it's more than a movement, it's our mission. Austin, Texas, a hotbed of music and food and cool culture, this city's anything-goes attitude makes it one of the most progressively minded towns in America. A place where Keep Austin Weird isn't just the prevailing lifestyle, it's the official slogan. A place where the next big thing could be around the very next corner, whether it's an unknown rock and roll band or an environmental crusade so simple that it's actually revolutionary.
We live in a throwaway culture. Statistically, each American creates about 5 pounds of waste a day. And what we don't realize is that stuff goes somewhere, right? When we are only witness to the part where it goes into the trash can and then exits our life. That banana peel we throw in the trash can and we never see or think about it again. What's happening to it? Well, quick thought experiment. That stuff is going straight into your trash, and then it's going out to the curb into a larger container. That's getting picked up by a diesel burning truck that's going 40 to 60 miles to a landfill. It's being packed down into this big pile of trash and suffocated so that basically anything that is organic material in that pile breaks down in a way that creates a poisonous gas called methane gas, which is 22 times more powerful than CO2 and is released into our atmosphere. So every time you throw something into the trash, you're not only contributing to that very energy-intensive process to get it to the landfill, but the end product is basically poisonous gas. So what if, instead of all of that mess, we could take those organic materials and harness them as resources to be turned into a natural fertilizer that could grow more food for your community? I mean, really the question is, would you rather grow food or landfills?
That's some pretty heady stuff for a college grad to be spending his days contemplating. But that's exactly what Dustin Fedacco found himself thinking about a lot in 2011.
Coming out of college, I was doing a lot of volunteering at local farms and gardens and helped to found a gardening nonprofit called the Food is Free Project. And during that time, I realized how much urban agriculture can really change a city and impact a city. At the same time, I needed a job, and so I went to Craigslist and I found a door-to-door salesman position for a composting company. I was a hobby composter at home and thought it would be interesting to talk to people about their waste. And that experience really just allowed me to talk to thousands of people about their waste, basically, about what composting is and what it means to them. And what I found out from that experience is, even though Austin, Texas sort of bills itself as this very progressive and eco-friendly city, there are so many of our neighbors who either aren't composting or don't even know, what composting is or why it's important. I mean, composting is difficult. You have to have space and time, and you got to know what you're doing. And it makes composting, home composting, unavailable to a lot of Americans. I started to realize there's this disconnect in our communities between the people who are creating this waste, which is everyone, and those of us in the community who are trying to grow food and could use some extra resources to help fertilize that effort. And so I started to ask myself, what if we could connect those dots between the people who are creating these organics and those of us in the community who are trying to grow more food? At the same time, I was spending a lot of time cycling, as my primary means of transportation, and was sort of daydreaming about this, this program that connected those dots in the most sustainable way possible using bike power.
Taking usable organics out of the waste stream and getting it to local food growers to turn into compost, and doing it on bikes. That was the original kernel that Dustin found himself sharing with coworkers one fateful day.
We just stopped by their house after work one day, just like any other day, to have a beer and kind of decompress after work. And this idea for what became the Compost Pedallers just kind of started to tumble out, and I was talking about how we could create this sustainable model, this new model for waste management in a city. And about halfway through that, Eric kind of busted out of a nearby door, which was his bedroom door.
One of my roommates was talking to his boss, Dustin, who I didn't know yet, at our kitchen table, and they were talking about how to start a compost company, make it move, make it work, and use bicycles to do it. It sounded like just the sort of thing I was looking for, and I liked the idea. I loved the idea to do it with bicycles because it lets it be 100% green. And from there, we had to plan on how to actually make it happen.
As one thing led to another, and scribbles on the back of a bar napkin turned into a business plan, I remember at one point we just kind of looked at each other and realized that we have to do this. This is something that that we both believe in, and that just could be really great.
So we had to figure out how to do routing, how to sign up customers. We needed a website that could accept payment and make sure that they were places that they could sign up for service. So a lot of this on the business planning, we had to work on that together.
So that was August of 2012 when we decided to start the Compost Pedallers, and then we made our first official collection December 5th of that year, just a few months later.
The Compost Pedallers were born. In just 4 years, their surprisingly small fleet, now 3 bikes and 4 cyclers, have diverted over 800,000 pounds of organic material away from landfills. That created over 200,000 pounds of rich compost and kept 125 tons of new methane emissions from being expelled into the atmosphere. And those peddlers, they've burned almost 4 million calories making the rounds through the streets of Austin and saved over 55,000 gallons of fuel by doing it on bikes instead of trucks. But in the early days, numbers like that seemed far-fetched, even to Dustin and Eric, because first, they had to teach people how to compost.
Yeah, in the early days it was pretty messy, of people not putting their bins out on the right day, and us getting the bins we collect full of material that isn't compostable, and there's this education component that we had to this hump we had to get over. At the same time, what was evident was we were composting with people who were kind of sitting and waiting for this solution. These were people who were pained by the fact that they had to throw their banana peels in the trash every day, and just really excited about this new solution, and they were excited that we were collecting it by bike. So, in those early days I was making the majority of the collections myself, and you'd walk up to the front door to collect the bin, and it would open, and the member would be excited to see their compost peddler, and you'd have a 5 or 10 minute conversation. So we weren't really expecting that. It was a much more social experience. We figured we're kind of a substitute for the trash man, and nobody talks to their trash guy. But instead, we kind of started to occupy this role of the milkman, right? In a way, we'd become the glue that would hold a neighborhood, part of the glue that would hold a neighborhood together, and neighbors would want to share news and chat, and people would be driving down the street and see one of our bikes and stop them and ask them what the hell they're doing, and children would chase after them like they're the ice cream man or something, and so there was this incredible response. And we were these two guys who had never started a business before, had pretty minimal business experience, and were trying to start this this new kind of business that there wasn't really any kind of blueprint for. I mean, you start a bakery and you can go look at the countless other bakeries that have been started before. When you try to start a bike-powered collection service, you're kind of in the dark for the most part, feeling around, and that was what the early days were like. Stumbling upon problems that we didn't know that we were going to have to solve, and solving them.
There are many things that can go wrong. Bikes can break down. We have over 700 members, and every time that something like that happens, it means another pedaler has to fill in for the one that is missing. So that's about, give it or take, 5 to 10 more miles, hauling 400 pounds. So you do the math, it's quite hard. Oh, there was one day where I made a wrong turn and I had the largest bike that we currently use. It's a trike that can carry up to 800 pounds. And I think I was fully loaded and I was facing a hill and I battled for an hour and a half trying to get up there. It was impossible. I mean, I completely broke down. I was sitting on the sidewalk, not knowing what to do, about to just burst into tears, thinking, what am I gonna do? I mean, it's not like a race that I can just simply quit. It's a job that I have to get done. So, I don't know, just waiting for a couple of minutes, putting myself together, finding a better way, and keep on pedaling.
You know, every day that I go out on a route, it's hard. You're mostly by yourself, but you run into people that you have a lot of fans, as you bike around and you're hauling this compost and you're sweating and huffing and puffing and you're getting all red. It's 100 degrees during the summertime or it's raining on you. It's nice to have a car go by and have them hoot and holler and give you the thumbs up, They usually yell out something like, "Go compost," or something like that, and that feels good.
Okay, so as the newest rookie compost peddler, that was an interesting experience on the very first pickup. Flat roads, I'm full pedal power, and it's tricky, with the cars and I'm in shape, but I can see how somebody would be winded and you got used to the bike, but it's pretty fun. I'm having a good time. That was quick, you ready?
Yeah. On to the next account.
On to the next one.
Austin has this Best of Austin Awards that the Austin Chronicle puts out every year. And I think within the first couple of months of us being a business, before we had even made collections for 6 months, we won a Best of Austin award kind of out of nowhere. And that really surprised me. I thought it was a joke. I thought Eric sent me a text or something like letting me know we had won, and I thought he was punking me. And I think it was around that time that I realized there's kind of some kind of magic here that people are really drawn to.
If you get a new roof or have your house painted, it's not uncommon for the company to ask to put a sign in your yard. Well, Dustin and the Compost Pedallers quickly realized that their members, and they are called members, not customers, are so passionate about being a part of the composting cause that this sign, has become part of the draw.
So one day when I was making collections, there had just been a local election and there were those political yard signs all over the place. But the election was over and they were all heading to the landfill. And so I thought to myself, we could turn these over, use the blank side, and spray paint Compost Pedallers yard sign. And at very least, I'll want a yard sign and I'll put it up in my front yard. And so we made a handful of those and gave them out to a few of our members who were interested. And after a while, it turned out that every time we would bring on a new member, we'd get an email or a phone call saying like, hey, I'm so excited to start composting, but where's my yard sign? It became this kind of badge of honor that our members would put up to show, hey, I compost, and it became a magnet for their neighbors. You'd see a house start composting, put up the yard sign, maybe another house down the street, and then the houses between those would start to ask questions, visit the website, and get started. I think it really speaks to how much ownership our members take of this service. It seems to really kind of become a part of their identity and not just this utility that they use.
I think everybody should be composting. It's the right thing to do. And when somebody like the Compost Peddlers is willing to come on a bicycle and pick it up, it's the best next thing to doing it in your own backyard, which I did for years.
Well, he got a fellowship in Germany, and so we went to Germany for a semester. And we got there to our apartment, and down where you take the trash out, there were like 7 different colored bins. And we were like, oh my God, what do we do? And so we figured out at least the biologic or something that meant organic. We figured out what to do with that one. And so we started to compost to collect that, because you get in trouble if you don't. And then when we came back here after 7 months, it felt really strange not to be composting. So I looked online and I found the Compost Peddlers. And then when they came to our neighborhood, they came one street above our neighborhood. And so I called them and I was like, please come one street down. And so they let us compost. And then other people on our street started composting also.
Compost Peddler members pay a monthly subscription fee of less than $20 for a once-a-week pickup. And for most, they're more than happy to do it because they know just how important those contributions are to their local community. And in return for every pound of compost donated, they get points to use at local businesses. But what happens to all those buckets of organic matter? Well, that's where the real magic happens, on the other side of the transaction, and what keeps Compost Peddler efforts so uniquely Austin.
So the nature of our business is that it's hyperlocal. The organics that we collect are immediately being invested to be composted at a nearby farm or garden. And so for us to be able to expand, it's crucial that we make those partnerships and build the local infrastructure so that we can accept more materials.
They're called Compost. A growing number of urban farms, community gardens, and even local schools who received the donated organics to grow food that stays within the community to complete the whole cycle.
So a few years ago, we were contacted by a couple of guys that had a dream of doing a composting operation business, and their model was to get on bicycles and roll around town picking up compost from residential and some coffee shops and things like that. And so they talked to us as they were planning this and wanted us to see if we wanted to be involved. Absolutely, we said yes, because composting is a great thing to keep all the stuff from going to the landfill and using it like we do. So yeah, we were happy. I think we were their first drop of the Compost Pedallers, and happy to say that it's been fun to watch their business grow. So when we can bring in coffee grounds and other people's food scraps and pile them up in my composting operation, it just is a win-win for everybody.
The fact that it's very decentralized and neighborhood-based rather than centralized and relying on big, heavy machinery and equipment to bring this resource to one central location and then to redistribute it, and to have Compost Peddlers providing that resource right here in the neighborhood, right in the community, has been such a value for our community gardeners, for our school gardeners, for folks growing food at their churches, or even growing food at their home just for their families.
So Paul, you're the compost manager here at Festival Beach Community Garden. So one of the questions that I have for you, you take these inputs in from the Compost Pedallers. For example, when they are making those deliveries, it will come into one of these bins, and obviously this one right here, add here, and then cover with brown. So the browns are probably leaves and things that other members are bringing in on top.
Correct.
But all the food waste is coming into these different bins, and then we see cooking, cooking, cooking. So basically these are your ovens, right? This is where it's all happening in place, and then once it's finished, someone maybe comes and moves it over?
Yes, and occasionally we take temperatures of the piles, and we'll monitor how they're progressing. And if the temperature seems like it's low, we may do a turn on it. If it just progresses all through, we may not even turn it.
And turning it would speed up the decomposition process.
That's correct. And occasionally we'll inoculate it too by adding some microbes to it.
Yeah, and then, okay. So what's your average turnaround time from raw material in to finished compost out?
It's about 8 to 10 weeks.
Nice, that's a little faster than the home composting model.
Yeah, it is, and that's a function we monitor it. I'm not sure that home composters are monitoring as close as we do.
Right, well, keep up the good work. It looks like it's doing a good job.
Well, thanks.
And as the city of Austin keeps progressing with their environmental efforts, the Compost Pedallers know they'll have to keep inching the bar higher as well to stay on the forefront of the city's sustainability movement.
The city of Austin has a zero waste plan that calls for every business with a food permit to start to recycle food waste and not just glasses and cans. And so that's going to be rolling in and coming in, and so it's great that we have a city and people that live here that support organic recycling. So we're happy to see that coming in the future, and we're getting ready to scale up to help with as many restaurants in the city as we can.
Part of the zero waste mandate, we have a vision that by 2040 we're not going to be throwing anything into the landfill. We're going to be recycling everything. We're working really hard to look at all the different ways that we can prevent organic material from getting into the waste stream to begin with, and then once it's there, what do we do with it? We're also simultaneously very interested in climate change issues. We've got a community climate plan that the City of Austin has just passed, filled with a lot of different ways that we can address the city's role in climate change and how the community can be involved with positive solutions. So you put climate change and you put zero waste together, and you kind of create a perfect scenario for companies such as the Compost Pedallers.
I've just been really surprised and heartened to see how embraced we've been by the city, and how I think for a lot of people the Compost Pedallers has become part of the identity of what makes Austin Austin. There are dozens of businesses just like ours popping up all over the country and all over the world. And although there are a lot of similarities across all of them, each one takes a unique form to fit the context of the city that it serves. I mean, we're proud of the work that we've done here in Austin, but we're just a small part of this global movement of people all over the world coming together to try to solve this problem of waste. You know, and it's really going to take all of us with new ideas coming together to transform this problem into a solution so we can grow a greener world.
Collecting kitchen scraps and giving them to a farmer down the street, all on a bicycle? Perhaps it's the kind of idea that only originates in a town like Austin. But Dustin and Eric and their army of peddlers really are making a difference in their local community. But they're also helping the rest of us think about the possibilities locally and individually as well. Growing a greener world really can happen, even if it's just one 5-gallon bucket at a time. And if you'd like more information on the Compost Pedallers or simple ways to get started with home composting, well, we have that information on our website under the show notes for this episode. The website address, that's the same as our show name. It's growingagreenerworld.com. Thanks for joining us, everybody. I'm Joe Lample, and we'll see you back here next time for more Growing a Greener World. All right, Dodie, let's go compost.